Dylan's Fear Files. Years ago, I helped out a cheap retail store with their security. In downtime, I would help on stock, but it was also my job to make sure kids weren't messing with party supplies, people weren't shoplifting, etc. Part of my job at closing was to check all the shelves and under them in case boxes were misplaced or stock went missing. This was necessary because customers would hoard a basket of things to look like they were shopping, then ditch the basket under the shelf and leave with a single object. I was visiting family for a few days and received a text from my manager asking when I was coming back. I thought it was weird, but I thought nothing of it as I'd be back the next day. When I arrived back at work, they showed me the security tapes. A customer with a bag containing nothing but a sledgehammer walked into the store and slid himself under the shelf a few hours before close, and then just waited perfectly still for closing. The staff member taking over my close duties did not do a shelf check that day. If I had not decided to take those few days off, and it was a struggle to decide as I was on minimum wage and needed the money, I would have found myself face to face with a creeper and a sledgehammer. He lay in wait, surprisingly but thankfully, as the manager stood at the till counting all the cash openly at the counter. The store was locked at the front by now. He just continued to lie there. The employees all left the store from the back warehouse entrance, and that's when the guy came out. He bust down the office door where the safe was kept and then tried to use a sledgehammer to literally knock the safe off the bolts in the floor. By this time, the security alarms had been set off from him breaking the door, and my boss is coming back to the office through the back because he forgot something when they locked up that day. He came face to face with the man who chased him back outside. My boss hid in some dumpsters and the man ran into the car park and into the distance with his sledgehammer in tow. After his entire 3 or so hour stakeout in operation, he left with nothing, except I'm assuming sore arms. If you're reading this, thank you for choosing a day I wasn't working. Let's keep it that way. Sledgehammer Man, wherever you are, let's not meet. A few summers ago, just before the start of my junior year in college, I decided to take a trip to San Francisco. Since I attended my home state's flagship university, I really needed a brief change of scenery. I've always wanted to be in California, which was convenient, as one of my friends was interning in San Francisco and offered to let me stay with her. All the details were worked out, and I was excited to go. My friend was still interning while I visited, so she wasn't able to show me around, but I had a blast exploring on my own. I spent a majority of my time reading at different parks and taking pictures. She got off work at 5, so I would head back around then to hang out with her. I always knew I was close to her apartment when I saw the construction. It was a huge project that required pedestrians to navigate through tunnels. I had been through them many times before, but on that particular day, someone ran up next to me right as we entered the dimly lit passage. He was a larger guy, wearing a wife beater and blue jeans. I'm usually pretty friendly, but something felt off about him. We awkwardly exchanged haze before I quickened my pace, expecting him to just drift away, but he changed his pace to match mine and kept lingering. "What's your name?" he asked. "None of your business," I responded without looking at him, hoping he'd get the hint. He didn't. "You're really pretty. Do you want to go to a party?" But before giving me time to even respond, he grabbed my arm. He was pulling me towards the end of the tunnel. I had no idea what awaited me there. His grip was so incredibly tight and he was so much bigger than me. There was no way I could escape by strength alone. Despite being a very tiny person, I didn't have any pepper spray or self-defense skills. I had never felt so vulnerable in my life. My mind was trying to find a way to survive, but then I felt someone else pull my other arm from behind. I thought it was all over, but I looked back and saw it was a woman around my mom's age, dressed in business attire. Needless to say, I was confused. "Hey, it's really you! I haven't seen you in so long," she exclaimed, as she transitioned into sprinting towards the way she came and pulled me with her. I let out a sigh of relief as I felt his grip loosen. I was ecstatic to exit the tunnel. When I looked back, he was gone. She told me that she saw the guy go after me and knew that something was wrong. She walked the remaining block with me to my friend's house. I thanked her for everything, and we hugged before I hurried to tell my friend what had happened. We never even got to exchange names, but I don't know what I would have done without her. It warms my heart to know that there are people out there who have the courage to help others. I recently moved to San Francisco with some pepper spray, and the construction site of the incident has been completed. Even so, I think of her every time I pass by. Very much lurker, but overall new to posting here. If I'm in the wrong subreddit, I'm sorry. Please let me know. I'm also using a different account for much more secrecy, considering the fact that what happened is all over the news. I wanted to share something very eerie that practically happened in my backyard, and please forgive me as I'm sitting alone at night, scared and still shaken. First, I suppose I should supply some context. I am a workout addict. I love to lift and run. I run about 12 miles a week typically, 3 miles, 4 separate days. Every day that I run, I take the same trails that surround the lake in my hometown. These trails are relatively secluded, however usually have fellow runners and wanderers scattered about throughout most times of day and early evening. I always run through a particular trail that is my personal favorite spot. It is very near my home, not even a half mile away. This past week, my local gym was closed due to renovations, so I filled my week with about twice the amount of running as I couldn't lift. Because of my sudden increase in running, my tendonitis flared up. I always get overzealous and do that to myself. This will come back into play in a bit. Now I'm hoping I'm able to describe this little picnic area and make sense. At a certain point, the trail guides you to an adorable picnic area. There are parking spaces and picnic tables equipped with grills scattered throughout the lakeside area. Families are grilling here constantly. It's lovely. Behind a certain table, often one of the more secluded areas, there's a great little dirt trail heading to a lovely cliff overlooking the lake. I've hung out there alone since childhood, as we have always had a rather safe area. I promise this will be important later. Still with me? I hope all that was clear. I'm so spooked right now. I was finishing up what would be my last run before my tendonitis flared up, thus forcing me to rest. It was dusk, and as I was just about to cross through the adorable park and onward through the trail toward home, when I hit the park, I stopped, thinking I might head towards my beloved hidden trail to take a brief rest on my favorite cliff. I'm not one to be paranoid, and I'm quite adventurous, but after hours of L&M, I decided, maybe not, and picked up my speed. I noticed a van parked, but there were usually people here. Didn't think much of it, maybe a fisherman, and moved along. So thankful for that. The next day I had such brutal pain from overdoing my workouts that I could hardly walk, let alone run. I know, way too overzealous. I took some time off. This morning, I wake up to a news update from my news app, stating that the police are investigating a dismembered, burned female's body found at the lake a few hours before I'd woken up. I opened the article, only to find worse news. Where the body was found burned and gruesomely chopped was just in my favorite trail, right between the picnic table and my beloved cliff, less than 1 mile from my home, the area I run through 4 times a week. The same area where I almost explored just a night or so ago, as I'd done since I was in elementary. The same area that my L&M paranoia had diverted me from that evening, with the same sketchy gray van I thought nothing of. They are still investigating. Nobody has been caught yet. I'm less than a mile away here, sitting in my dark house, praying that whoever did this gets caught. Fast. All I can say is how thankful I am to be safe. I'm also so grateful for not being the poor soul to discover that body, because that could have happened to me quite easily. That is how much time I spend up there, and that is how close it is to me. I still don't have any clue if the van was involved, but it seems odd, especially since I have a couple of friends, female, who used to run in the same area, but stopped after weeks of seeing a gray van conveniently driving by each time they ran. I don't think I need to explain why we shouldn't meet, whoever you are, but congrats on making me terrified of my own backyard. I'm scared to look out of a window for too long. If I need to post the article in the comments or get verified, I will. Just seeing if this gets any readers, and thanks for reading. I'll keep you updated if the killer gets caught. Update number 1. Here's the most recently updated news report, getting chills all over again. Update number 2. So far I've run into a couple on the trails who claim to have smelled burning flesh days before the body was found. The wife appeared to have worked in a crematorium. She said the smell is something unlike any other. This made me even more scared as I was running the trails even more so on those days. The police seem to believe it was a man who has fled to Mexico. Update number 3. Visited the site today, ran into an FBI agent, believe it or not. He was very secretive, obviously, but very friendly. He told me to stay alert and safe, as he has a daughter. There were cameras in the wooded area around the burn site. I got a picture, although it's hard to tell, this is where they found her.